and we are live for episode 8 of the P&B College Football Podcast. Another week, supposed to be one of the best weeks so far of the season. Mr. Paisley, great to be back with you.
Yes, sir. Great to be back here at the halfway point of the season. Huge week of games coming up. Last week, not the best slate of games, but definitely got some great results, some great games to watch on TV. So a lot to break down and a lot to preview for this week. So going to be a fun one here on the pod.
Yeah, might as well hop right into our recap of the week. Pretty strong, above 500, 2-0 on the locks, which is great. I had Indiana covering the 13.5. Jared, you were high on Pittsburgh all week. That as well hit. Sitting at 9-3 on locks for the season. That's real good. 75% win percentage. I think anybody would take that through 12 games. So that's great. Just this past week, then, as you see, 14-12 record, so just above 500, as I said. And then overall, floating around the 50-50 mark as well. 81 wins, 79 losses, and 3 ties through our games so far. So pretty strong start, and we'll see if we can continue that momentum.
Yeah, locks stay hot. We always like when that hits. 2-0 on the Saturday. It's also funny how betting works out. We have all these games. About over 150, 160 games we picked, and we're right around 500. So funny how it always works itself out. But yeah, pretty solid record. Pretty good bounce back week. Staying above 500 is always good. So we like to see that. And the locks it, of course. And yeah, shout out Pittsburgh and Indiana for getting some big wins and big covers in their games. Special shout out to Indiana too, man. They are killing it with the new coach we talked about in the last couple pods, but covering I think every game or maybe 5 out of the 6 games. So got to give Indiana some credit here as a contender here in the Big Ten going forward.
Yeah, former KC winner of the week, also Indiana Hoosiers, so continue winning there. Also, P&B Parlay did not hit this past week, but that's okay because we're still plus 2 units, Mr. Paisley, on the season, so that's good. I think we're 1-3 overall, but we hit the 1 on week 2, so we lost this past week. I think I had Stanford, you had Hawaii, so 2 underdogs couldn't get the win. If you're just joining us for the first time, we give out a weekly P&B podcast that me and Jared also take. It's 2 underdogs, and we try to see if we could hit it. Sometimes it's, plus 400, 500, more or less, but did not hit this past week. But we are still plus 2 on the season on that.
Yeah, like we said, it's not going to hit everyone, but if we could just get one every couple 4 or 5, it should be good. Maybe make some plus money. And we got a fun one at the end of the show. Should be a fun one to break down, a little tease to the part at the end of the show.
Can't wait for that. All right, so that was our betting recap. Might as well just jump right into the Week 6 recap. A lot of great games, obviously, to cover. Most of them prime time. A lot of night games as well. Just a great week of college football this past week, and even better, hopefully, this upcoming week. But Texas A&M looking really good, beating out Missouri, blowing out Missouri 41-10. I know you were on that, Jared, at minus 2.5. I was too. It almost seemed like just a weird line because 90% of the public money was on A&M, and they not only covered, but they just completely dominated 4 quarters, taking out Missouri 41-10.
Yeah, Texas A&M looked good. Both sides of the ball, too. Defense dominated. Missouri's offense stumbled a little bit. They have some nice playmakers on there. Good quarterback, receivers, probably going to get taken top 15 in the NFL draft. So it's really weird that offense just couldn't get going for Missouri. The defense is going to be a little suspect going forward. So, some question marks for Missouri. But, yeah, Texas A&M looked really good in this one. Jumped out early and then just didn't look back. So, Connor Wakeman looked pretty good at quarterback coming in. It's a 50-50 shot he was going to play. He comes in, had some struggles early on in the year, but this was definitely his best game. Looked really comfortable. So Texas A&M could be a legit SEC contender here and maybe a playoff team when it's all said and done.
Yeah, possibly. And I know we were looking at, too, last game of the year, possibly going down there to see Texas and Texas A&M play. At this point, though, those tickets we were looking, are almost, they're ridiculous. Several hundred, almost $1,000 in some cases, that A&M Texas game. And A&M's schedule lines up pretty favorably the way it is set up at this season, where they could be with that 10-1 going into that game with just that week 1 loss to Notre Dame. They do have a couple tests. It's not easy by any means, but it's definitely doable for the SEC for them. So that'll be interesting to see how they do the rest of their schedule. Next game, SMU upsetting Louisville. Jared, I know you were on the Louisville Cardinal to cover. Could not get the win. SMU gets the win. Huge ACC win for them. Still weird saying ACC next to their name, but SMU started out the season pretty slow and seems like they're getting hot now. The last few games, they've looked a little better, and they get a big win over Louisville, 34-27.
Yeah, SMU made a change at quarterback, too, to the backup Jennings. Not sure if that was injury or play-related, but he gave him a nice pop. He's a good runner. He was tough to contain for Louisville all day. SMU was the right side in this game. Louisville had a nice push at the end to bring it back. I think they took the lead by 3 or tied it late in the fourth there with like 6 minutes left, and SMU had a nice drive, long drive that Louisville couldn't stop them all day. So, yeah, SMU might be turned into that team that everyone thought they could maybe be at the beginning of the year. So don't want to write them off just yet. And with the ACC kind of being wide open, we'll get to Miami later, but they haven't looked good in 2 weeks. Clemson definitely is looking better, but besides that, kind of wide open. Can they be that third team? I think people were thinking it was maybe going to be Louisville with their talent, but Louisville, yeah, just a disappointing loss at home there. Yeah, SMU, maybe look out for them. Keep them in mind.
Yeah, SMU, getting through arguably the tougher part of their schedules too, with at Louisville, and I don't even want to say Florida State, but at the beginning of the season that looked like a tough game. You go and you beat Florida State, so they're 2-0 in conference play with their only loss to BYU, who has been a little bit better this season, I think, than some people thought they would be. So we'll see. Wide open conference, as we talked about. SMU certainly has a shot.
Yeah, and I don't think they play Clemson or Miami too. That's why people like them over the win total before the year. So just something to keep in mind. I can double check that later on. But yeah, SMU could have a nice clear path to staying up top there in the ACC.
Yeah, you are right. They avoid Miami and Clemson. They have Stanford, Duke, Pittsburgh, Boston College, Virginia, and Cal to the remainder of the season. So certainly doable. They might be the favorite in possibly all these games, honestly, looking at their schedule. Maybe Pittsburgh will be interesting, but the rest of them, they might be at least a 3-point favorite. Ohio State pulling away from Iowa there in the second half. I think that game was 7-0 at halftime with the Hawkeyes, and they go out and blow them out in the second half. Still haven't had a real test, obviously, this season. That's going to change on Saturday. We'll dive into that in the second half of this episode, playing Oregon. But Ohio State getting it done and covering against Iowa in a low-scoring game, holding Iowa only 7 points, but they get the job done.
Yeah, I did have the under on the card. I kind of like this. Was going to make it a stronger play and then kind of pull back a little bit. Wish I would have put more on it, but played out exactly how I thought in the first half. A lot of run game, a lot of offenses not clicking. And then, yeah, Ohio State kind of pushing. It was almost going to get the total by themselves later on in that game. But, yeah, Ohio State struggled early on. Iowa, like I thought, couldn't do much the whole game. So Ohio State had a nice couple scores at the end there to break it open. But, yeah, looked a little shaky in the first half, but their defense is legit, I think. And we'll definitely break that down later in the podcast here. But Ohio State with a nice resounding win, 35-7, maybe looks a little bit better on the scoreboard than what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right about that. I think Ohio State, I mean, they're obviously very good. We knew they were more talented than Iowa, just like they were more talented than Michigan State the week before. They're obviously, I'd say, second and third tier Big Ten teams they're playing, but nonetheless still, impressive. Like you said, their defense looks really good, and, that'll be on full exposure this week against Oregon. We'll see how they do with their first real matchup of the season, big game. But, yeah, getting the job done, Ohio State looks like a clear, top 3 team. I think there's 3 teams broken away off the rest of the field, or maybe at least 2 at this point, and that would be probably Ohio State and Texas. Now to the fun part. I don't know if the score is right here, but I'm reading, Mr. Paisley, that Vanderbilt stuns number 1 Alabama 40-35. This game, I mean, it just seems like it was too good to be true. I mean, so many years we talk about Alabama and they're just, total dominant, great team, always number 1, 2 in the country. Whenever they lose, is a huge story. And now I guess you have the expanded playoff, I can't get too excited yet because obviously they could still control their own destiny, really. And that's something that I think we got to get used to. Just like Notre Dame's loss to Northern Illinois, I think week 1, week 2, whatever it was, would be catastrophic normally. But now you're sitting in an era where you could still control a lot if you win. So I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to completely say they're dead in the water, but man, I can't believe this result. You come out, you beat Georgia, get a huge win, you look good. Kalen DeBoer, it's like they haven't missed a beat. And you go to Vandy and you just lay an absolute egg. The defense just never got off the bus there, just beat. They looked beat. I mean, it wasn't just a fluke game. This wasn't a Hail Mary. This wasn't a weird game. Vanderbilt played better for 4 quarters. I was able to watch this whole game despite being at the Penn State game on Saturday. Was able to watch the whole thing that evening. And wow, number 1 Alabama just loses outright to Vanderbilt. Huge win for Vandy.
Yeah, this game was awesome. Quick shout out, Uncle Lou. Had himself a weekend, but these next 2 games are going to break down with the Vandy, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee. But big SEC guy. If you haven't checked out his page, had some funny videos on this one with some fan interactions here. But
so yeah, big day for Uncle Lou, to say the least, down there at the casino or wherever he was at. I'm sure he enjoyed that one. Alabama going down to Vandy 40-35. Next SEC matchup here, another SEC upset. Number 4 Tennessee going down to Arkansas outright, 19-14. We were just talking, I think, last week how the SEC is loaded and all these top heavy teams, and now you have Alabama that gets stunned by Vandy, and here Arkansas going in, beating Tennessee in a huge win for them, non-ranked, upsetting them 19-14. Tennessee just did not look like the team that they were the first few weeks of the season here, only putting up 14 points. Not good for them, and now they're going to be in a situation where every other game now on their schedule is a lot more important than it was just a week ago.
Yeah, it's a good point. SEC, not a good weekend for them. We had Georgia last week looking bad. Now Alabama, Tennessee. Who's going to step up? I think it's Texas for right now. They got a big game coming up this weekend, but they really haven't played anybody. If you count Michigan, I don't really count them. So, yeah, Tennessee's offense, I don't know. That was the big question mark. Offensive coach, new quarterback coming in, looked good. Nice young quarterback, a lot of hope and promise. They got stifled. Like, they just couldn't move the ball. I think they had 0 points. I think it was 3-0 at halftime. Arkansas was up, and Arkansas should have been up more. I think Arkansas kind of dominated this game. This score should have been even more than what it looked like on the final here, only a 5-point win. So got to give Arkansas a lot of credit. They look good. Offense looked good. Bobby Petrino pulling the strings there. A little throwback. But that quarterback we talked about after the Oklahoma State game, Green, he looks pretty good. And he was moving around nice, got injured a little bit in the game, came back. So just a big, big win for Arkansas, who has been a program that really hasn't been good the last couple of years. So it was nice to see them get a nice win and have the fans be something to be excited about. But Tennessee, tough look here. Got to bounce back offensively. I mean, the defense kind of did their part, but weird to see a Tennessee team under hype Bulls struggle offensively.
Yeah, first time that we've really seen that in a while. Tennessee offense struggling. And Arkansas, weird team. A lot of people at the beginning of the season picked them to potentially finish last in the conference. So they've shocked a lot of people this year. They've been playing really well. They almost got the big win over Oklahoma State early in the season, and then here they are now getting a huge win at home, knocking off Tennessee. So big win for them. But yeah, Tennessee just did not look good. They did not look right all game, laying up an egg there, like you said, in the first half. They have a lot of work to do if they want to get back to their national championship level type of atmosphere and feeling down there, because they play like that. I mean, they're not getting past Georgia. At Georgia, that'll be a playoff eliminator probably for them if they continue to play like that. So we'll see where the season goes for them, but not a good weekend for the top half of the SEC.
Yeah, and just one more quick point on Arkansas that you said they're supposed to finish bottom. I think Sam Pittman, the head coach, was supposed to be fired maybe midway through the year, after the year. Does this buy him time now? Does this bring him back? I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for the Arkansas program, but with the last couple of years he had. But yeah, some of these coaches, they're on the hot seat. They get one big win against a top 5 team, and then maybe you're set for a couple more years. So interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, Tennessee, lots to work on there.
Yeah. And to the Big Ten, Washington knocking off number 10 Michigan, which I think everybody in the country saw this happening last week. Just Michigan was probably the least deserving 10th ranked team in the history of 10 ranked teams. Washington was even a slight favorite. But you still got to play the game. You got to get the job done. And they look good. They go out. They beat Michigan in a revenge game. Some are calling from the national championship. Not quite sure it's that level. But honestly, a week ago, it totally slipped my mind that this was the national championship rematch. I don't even remember if we mentioned that. I kind of thought about it on Friday or like the morning or watching the game, and when they were talking about it, and it started to register. It's, I don't know if it's just short-term memory loss, but like did not feel like the national championship rematch. And here we are. But Washington gets it done. They get the revenge against Michigan, getting the win 27-17.
Yeah, I think we might have completely forgot about that. Washington, no one expected them to be in the championship last year. I think we might have erased that from our minds. But huge win for the Huskies here with the new coach, new program. Yeah, it was weird seeing the number 10 by Michigan there, so I knew that wasn't true, and it came to fruition. But it was just funny. They went down 14-0. Washington was rolling early, and Michigan subs out Orgy and puts in their more passing quarterback in right away. They always say if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. So they have no idea what they're doing at the quarterback position. When they're leading, they're up. Orgy's pretty nice. He can run the ball good, but then when they're down, he can't throw. So now they're like in between it. Just a mess, the quarterback position. And their defense is still good. I thought it was going to be elite coming into this year, and I don't think it's that level. So just a weird mix of the defense not being as good. It's hard to keep teams below like 14 every single week to win ball games. So nice win against USC last week or 2 weeks ago, but yeah, I think it's going to be tough to find wins against these top-tier teams when Michigan steps up in class. And we'll see. They almost lost to Minnesota last week, so it might be a very bumpy road for Michigan going forward, but nice win for Washington there.
And you know what, Jared? I just remembered why we don't remember that Michigan-Washington game last year. It's because that game never happened. That season was vacated, I'm pretty sure, and Michigan's never really won, and it's all going to be wiped out anyway. So that's probably why we didn't remember, because Michigan cheated their way to a national championship last year. Anyway, Minnesota getting the big win over USC, 11th ranked USC, 24-17. You were on Minnesota. I was on USC on this one. I don't know. I was skeptical on USC at times. I thought maybe we were giving them a little credit after their big win over LSU, but I just had no faith in Minnesota. This game was more about Minnesota not being good than I thought USC was all that good. But I don't know. Here we are, Minnesota almost knocking off Michigan, like you said, a week ago, and now getting the big win over Southern Cal. Things are on the up for them. And USC just laid another Lincoln Riley egg here early part of the season, not getting it done against Minnesota. And now you have a lot of pressure. Huge game this week at home for them, possibly make or break their season. And could not get it done. Golden Gophers get the win 24-17 over USC.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley's track record on the road is really bad if you take a look at it. So I thought maybe he could turn around here, but just a different guy away from home in the middle eastern part of the U.S. So, I like Minnesota in this one. And again, like Vandy, I thought they would do enough to keep this game within the number. I didn't think they were going to win outright. So we'll take the outright win, but just to keep these games competitive. So it was a little shocking to see them win this game outright. Did come down to a final possession there with the pick in the end zone with some questionable calls at the end there. But, Minnesota, this was a fun one to watch too late at night. Came to play, crowd was rocking. I like to pick teams in spots or sometimes just in one Saturdays. I don't know if we'll be back in Minnesota a lot going forward here, but just a great spot for Minnesota, set up nice for them and got the win. But like you said, huge game for USC. Now they just can't protect the quarterback, and that's a problem. Defense looked really good against LSU, starting to come back down to earth a little bit, maybe not as elite as we thought. So a little more questions with USC. So if they could protect their quarterback, they could actually get it out to their weapons, but they had a hard time doing that. Miller Moss is getting killed back there. So that's going to be something to look forward here as in games going forward.
Yeah. And, you want to talk about questionable calls, goes in right to the next game. Saturday night, late night, Miami miracle comeback against Cal. I was hardly even paying attention to this game. It was so late. I think I watched like the first quarter or the first half, and Cal was just total control. They were winning that game. They were playing really well. Looked like they were well on their way to a victory. And then all of a sudden, Miami comes back late in the second half. Credit to them. They hung in there. They ended up coming back and winning this game. Still not sure I believe in this Miami team after watching them the last few weeks at all. But all the refs also were horrible in this game. I mean, at the end of that game, targeting, I don't know what's targeting and not targeting. I don't like targeting. I don't like the rule. I think we shouldn't be throwing guys out when accidents happen. We should go to the NFL like personal foul model. But if that wasn't targeting on Saturday, then they should just eliminate the rule, because that was, I don't know what else targeting is if you're blatantly going at the player, helmet down, intentional, right helmet to helmet contact. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't defenseless. I guess that's the argument that I got, but still a lot of confusion. It wasn't just the targeting call. There was many calls at the end of that game when I rewatched it the next day. But Miami gets the win, 1 point, survives again. I think that's all the ACC has left, them and Clemson at this point. Coming back, gets the win over Cal, 39-38.
Yeah, ACC refs helping out Miami 2 weeks in a row now. So someone mentioned it's kind of like the catch rule in the NFL, how it was the last couple of years. Like, what is targeting in college football? You're right. You see it sometimes blatant, they throw a flag, sometimes it's not. Guy gets kicked out of the game. Just got to clean that up on the end there with the targeting call. But you said it perfect. Yeah, Cal jumped out, played it perfectly. That game day there, crowd was rocking. Couldn't have started a better 3 quarters. And they went into that fourth quarter up 21 or 25, I think, at one point in the third or fourth. And I went to bed. I texted you the next morning. I was stunned. I could not believe Miami won. I thought Cal won the game. I went to bed and then woke up the next day and found out they didn't. It was just mind-boggling. So really tough for Cal. And then you got to give Miami some credit at the end of the game. But you're right. This is now 2 games in a row. They played their first 3 quarters sleepwalking and not looking good. So just a tough team to trust. We weren't high on this coaching staff going into it. Had some blunders there early on in the game. So just a team to look out for. They're going to be highly ranked. They have a pretty easy schedule, but I don't know. These blemishes are looking pretty tough and could have easily been 2 losses here against Virginia Tech and Cal, who are kind of middle of the road national teams, not even in the ACC. So keep your eye on Miami. I wouldn't trust them a lot, like you said, going forward here.
Right, and that's the point. They're ranked like Miami. They're a good team. There's no questioning that, but I just don't think they're an elite team at this point. They were 2 easy things from being a 2-loss, probably not ranked team. If that's called a touchdown against Virginia Tech, and it very well could have been, and that is ruled targeting at the end of that Cal game, they're a 2-loss team, and that's just and that's not changing a lot of things and what's happening. So I just don't know if they're all that good. I really don't. They're probably a top 25 team. I don't know if they're. I heard like a quote this week or last week. It was like, there's not 25 top 25 teams in college football right now. It's kind of a weird situation where it seems like there's some drop off going on and a lot of uncertainty. They're a good team. I just don't know if they're a great team. If they're the Miami we thought they were like week 2 when everybody was just, going crazy for them. Clemson lost. It looked like it was Miami against the world. It looked like they were going to be right there with Ohio State and, Georgia and all these teams. Texas, but they're clearly at this point not that team. Could they still go 12-0? Yeah. Could they win the ACC? Sure. But I just don't know if they're the caliber to knock off a Texas or an Ohio State or anything like that.
Yeah, and they both needed miracle comebacks too. Like in the Virginia Tech game, Virginia Tech kind of dominated that game too. So can you bank on those comebacks every single week or when you need them? Going to be tough, and no one's still talking about Clemson, but I think they're kind of under the radar. At least you know what you're getting from them and that program. Miami, it could be they could put up 70 or they could lose by 40. Like, you have no idea with them. So it's going to be an interesting team to look for. Tough for the Cal fans, man. That would have been cool to win that game. Probably would have rushed the field. So heartbreaker for Cal.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaker. Tons of upsets, tons of great week of college football. A lot we just hit on there. Cal could not close it. So that's disappointing for them. But anyway, winners and losers of the week. Mr. Paisley, who do you believe is the winner of the previous week?
I'm going to give it to a side of the ball. I'm going to go with the Arkansas defense for my winner of the week. I thought they played great the whole game. Their defense struggled kind of early on in the year and even years past. So like I said, it was kind of a tough program to watch the last couple of years, but really turned it around here. This could be a nice turning point for them. I like what they're doing on both sides of the ball, but I was really impressed how they just stifled Tennessee's high-flying, high-paced offense. And someone else made a comment too that it's a very rhythm offense. So if you could get them off the field and don't let them get into their drives or keep the ball away from them, I feel like that's where it's hurting these weird gun and shoot offenses like Tennessee runs. So they kept the ball away from them. Didn't let them get into long drives. So maybe that's a formula for teams that could see now how to beat Tennessee going forward. But yeah, my win of the week, I'll give me the Arkansas defense showing up big at home there for the big upset win. Is 2 touchdown underdogs. They were getting 14.5 going into this game. So go Razorbacks.
Certainly winner of the week there. Arkansas's defense, great pick. I'm going to keep it in the SEC. Preseason, these were probably, as we just talked about, the 2 worst betting odds going into the season outside of Mississippi State. But anyway, I'm going to give it to Vanderbilt. Obviously, a big win for them. Not just for the school, but, this is for that, older person that has been a Vandy football fan for this last 50 years that nobody even knows about, that goes to every game, that supports his team, supports his school, all the alum out there. They are always they're never in these situations where they have a chance to beat, number 1 team in the country. It wasn't only Alabama, but it was, number 1 Alabama at home. I can't remember the last time in my life that they've had a huge win like that. I'm sure it's probably happened, but honestly, I don't even know. Nothing like that. Number 1 Alabama at home, just to see the footage afterwards of the the students bringing the goalposts and throwing it in the Cumberland River. Always cool to see. And it was just something I don't think I had on my bingo card for last week. I think we did talk about that game. You did like Vandy in that with the points, but I would have never had the guts to be like, I think Vanderbilt's going to win that game. That's just an outrageous thing to say. So all credit to them. Huge win for all the years that they've been trying to do stuff like this. So good for them. Enjoy it while it lasts, because I'm not sure how long it will last. So good for that big win for Vandy.
Yeah, I think there was a stat they showed it during the broadcast too. Vandy was like 0-55 or something against top 5 teams ever. So now they get that first win. So really cool. Yeah, bring the goalpost down on Broadway. Like, that's why you love college football. No one's doing that in the NFL space. So love seeing that on the college football side. But my loser of the week, to go a little more negative, I'm going to go with the UAB Blazers, and more importantly, Trent Dilfer, the former ESPN analyst, now head coach there. I don't know what's going on with this program. This could be a team to look to fade. There's a lot of quit factor in some of these teams where they just look like they don't want to be out there. And it's week 3 or 4 or 5. Like, we're still have a lot of season left. And they played Tulane. I took a little piece on Tulane. They put up 70 points against UAB. Trent Dilfer is a big, boisterous guy. He has a lot of crazy comments. And it just looks like he just doesn't want to be there. He kind of got the job when he shouldn't have. They should have gave it to some other deserving coaches, but he kind of stole it. And now he just looks like he's just complaining about the transfer portal recruiting. He just doesn't like college football. It's like, dude, why are you there? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So, just a program maybe look to fade going forward. Maybe some of these other programs that look like they don't want to be on the field. That's an issue. And it also could be an issue with the transfer portal and stuff. Like, these kids aren't here for a while. If you go 0-4, they know, okay, I'm leaving or I'm not going to be here next year. So why should I play hard? So some of these programs, when they go bad, it could be really, really bad. Like we're seeing with Florida State or NC State and now UAB. So just a team to keep your eye on. Just some really bad stuff going on. I just can't believe the quit factor showing out here in week 4 or 5. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Great pick. Probably not on a lot of people's radar, but yeah, it's getting steamrolled 51 points to Tulane this past week. UAB, also a team that lost their football program just 7-8 years ago and resurrected it, came back after, all the fans down there that, put up a big fight to get their football program back, and now to the state that it's in here in 2024. Yeah, it's certainly disappointing for them, for UAB. My loser of the week, and probably this upcoming week, probably for the rest of the year, really. It's not any specific team, but we're going to throw teams into this batch. But the people of Florida, just absolutely disappointing. Obviously getting devastated by a hurricane this week. Not fun. Hate to bring that into this, but definitely part of it. Not good. not good at all. Flooding, storm damage, a lot of things a lot of problems down there, to say the least, for the people. But then not only do you get hit by a major hurricane, but you have to watch teams like Florida play. You have to watch teams like UCF play, who was supposed to be the one bright spot, but then they lose to Florida. Then you have to watch 1-5 Florida State play. USF is below 500 at 2-3. I mean, Florida International gets blown out every week. I don't think Florida has anything. All their teams are terrible. Maybe I missed one or two. I think Jacksonville State is on right now, or last night or whatever. But anyway, not a lot of things to look forward to. Hurricanes, the weather, everything about Florida is just a mess right now. And then you have to watch your 4 terrible college football programs play. Just everybody in the state of Florida, I'm feeling for you. And you guys are, if not the loser of the week, you might be the loser of the month or the college football season, because just absolute disaster right now going on in Florida.
Yeah, good pick. Thoughts and prayers to the people down there for the hurricane and also their football teams.
Yeah.
You could also throw UCF in that, teams that are quitting. There's some guys transferring right now that I saw at UCF. Yeah. So what is going on in that locker room? I kind of like them preseason. They are not the team I thought they were, so hand up there. But yeah, Florida smoked them. When you make Florida look that good, that's a little surprising. So yeah, UCF really, really bad. But yeah, somebody's got to step up here. Somebody get to 6 wins and get to the bowl.
Yeah. Shout out to Matt Zientek, by the way, recovering from Hurricane Milton this past week. Week 7 preview. Great slate of games, Jared. We'll try to run through these pretty quickly, as we always do. But number 1, Texas, taking on their rival, Oklahoma, the Red River Rivalry. It's hard to say quickly. First time in the SEC. Over-under set at 50.5. Texas laying 14. I think I like Texas in this one. My just preliminary thought, I think I do like Texas. I think they're going to win. But it is a rivalry game. Oklahoma's not very good, but it's a rivalry game. We've seen these games close. They've been historically close. Not sure this will be a lot different. Obviously, Texas, big test. They did go to Michigan earlier in the season, but we all know Michigan is not an elite team this season. Their defense, I guess, is pretty good. But nonetheless, what do you see in this one, Texas, Oklahoma?
Yeah, I'd also have a slight lean to Texas minus 14. It is a high number, but I think they could get there. Quinn Ewers coming back, should be back off of injury. They had a bye week last week, so they're going to be well rested coming into this, healthy. So this will be a nice test. I want to see how Quinn Ewers looks back against this Oklahoma defense that I think is pretty solid. I think they have a pretty solid unit there. But how long can they hold up? Can they hold up the entire game and keep this within the number? Because the OU offense, I don't think is going to do much. You got to attack Texas on the perimeter, on the outside, in the secondary, but Oklahoma does not have a lot of receivers. Their quarterback is now a backup quarterback who's more a runner. He's not a great thrower, very athletic kid. But, just a tough spot. I do get flashbacks, though. Last year, I think I took Texas. They were only given like 5 or 6, I think, and everybody was on Texas. And then OU with Dylan Gabriel won it on that last play with like 30 seconds left or something. So you're 100% right. These rivalry games are hard to judge sometimes because just some wacky stuff happens. But I do think Texas gets a little revenge this year and looks good here and covers the 14.
Yeah, I agree. I think I do like Texas in this one. I'll probably lean Texas. Quinn Ewers coming back. Good point there. But we'll see. Yeah, rivalry game. Texas, I mean, this is an important game, obviously, for both teams. But, yeah, Texas, if they want to continue that elite level, everybody's thinking with the Alabama's fiasco last weekend and the way things are shaping out nationally, anything could happen with Ohio State, Oregon this week. Texas is becoming the clear-cut, top team. So far, every time we've had one of those teams, they blew it. So we'll see if that trend continues or if Texas will control. So that one will be good. Penn State, my Nittany Lions going all the way out to Los Angeles to take on USC. Penn State 5.5, 5.5 point favorite. That game's 3:30. We'll see. Penn State has a number 4 next to their name now, just because of all the other craziness going on. Not sure they are the 4th best team. Only laying 5.5, but got to go all the way out west to play USC. That's a far trip, as we've been talking about with this whole conference realignment. USC's looked good at times. They've looked not good at times. They're coming off a loss now to Minnesota, kind of backed up against the fence if you're USC, a game you need to have if you want to probably make some noise this year. I mean, You lose this game, you're probably out of the mix for the college football playoff. You win this game, all of a sudden USC's probably back in the top 20 in the AP poll or something crazy. So a lot could happen. The spread, I think, opened up at 3. It's now moved to 5.5. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. What do you think in this one, Jared?
Yeah, this one's a tough one. I'm kind of going back and forth, but I liked USC a couple weeks ago leading into this before the number came out. I think you got a good spot with USC, like you said, losing last week. They should be focused. Backs are against the wall. They need this win. So motivation factor definitely will be there for USC. It'll be there for Penn State, too. This is a big game for them going out west for a Big Ten game here. Penn State's finally done playing some cupcakes. They actually get a nice team on their schedule, so this will be interesting to see how they play, and it may be a tighter game script if it's not a 17, 20-point game. But like we mentioned with USC, with Miller Moss and keeping them upright, that's my only concern with USC. Their offensive line's not good. Penn State's defensive line is really good. They can rush the passer. So if they could keep him upright, keep him clean the first couple series, I might feel good about USC. If not, Penn State obviously has a great offense, looking a lot better with Anthony Kolnicki calling the shots from Kansas there. So Auer looks really comfortable, really poised back there. So he's looking really good. So I really liked USC a couple weeks ago, but I'm not going to get there as big with them. Still might play a small amount on them plus the points. Maybe if this gets up a little bit more, 6, 6.5, probably won't touch a 7, but if it gets there, that'd be nice. I think the number's just a little too big. I think this game could be closer with all the circumstances, but Penn State is a scary team to play against right now, so I'm really interested to see how that offense looks against a defense now that is pretty good, like we said, and has a good defensive coordinator. So this should be a fun one to watch, but I think the number's a touch too higher.
Yeah, and if we're bringing history too into this game, James Franklin has done a good job over the last 10 years of beating the teams he's supposed to beat. When they're favored, they're supposed to win those games. He's always had teams ready. They've always been ready to play, and I don't expect anything different here. I think they're going to try to play some of their best offense and defense that we've seen all season. With that being said, I don't think Penn State is as good as some of the national media that they're getting. I've seen the team every week. It seems like they're inconsistent at times offensively. I'm still worried about their wide receivers. They've had that explosive plays aspect a little bit this year, more definitely than they did last year. But with that, their defense has definitely taken, I think, a half step backwards. They're still watching them on offense. I see them play around like UCLA last week, 27-11, a game that Penn State was in control the whole game, never felt endangered, but I don't know. It just seems like they should be putting up more points. Illinois, 21-7. Once again, I think Penn State totally dominated that game, but that should have been 35-7. That should have been 35-3. Like they looked better. So I don't know. I think the potential's there for them. I think they could win this game by a lot. Or cover the spread at least. But I don't know. If you get that inconsistency, they start struggling on offense. They start screwing around. No receivers making a big play. They may just have to rely on their running game, which might be enough to win this game, but still not an easy spot going to USC this week.
Yeah, and just 2 more quick points. Maybe USC in the first half. Like you said, Penn State was struggling a little clunky in the first half of the last couple games there. USC should come up with a good script with Lincoln Riley on offense, so maybe something to dabble in. And then second point, this is why I think we liked Michigan against USC and I liked Minnesota, is because of their styles, and they're very run-heavy, run-first team, will run the ball 60, 65 times a game, go triple option on you. I don't know if Penn State's going to do that. I think USC matches up a little better against Penn State, crazy enough to say, than like a Minnesota or a Michigan. So just something to keep in mind. That's why I like the matchup. I don't know if Penn State could continually run the ball and if that's their style of play. So this should be a fascinating game, though. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, we'll see. Big test for Drew Aller. He's looked better this year, so we'll see if they can continue in the win column. Big game for playoff implications for them as well. Going to the SEC, Florida at Tennessee. Florida, as I said, absolute joke. They're terrible. They beat another Florida school last week. Congratulations for them. Their coach will probably be fired in the next few weeks. Going to Tennessee, who's also rebuilding after a slight hiccup on the road against Arkansas last week, losing that game they should have won. Everybody in Tennessee said they were going to win the national championship. Well, you can't even beat Arkansas. So interesting game for both of these teams. Tennessee laying 15.5, total set at 55.5. This game under the lights there in Knoxville this week. we'll see. We'll see if Florida could move the ball. Not sure they will be able to, but what are you thinking in this one?
Yeah, it screams the Tennessee spot here, like you said, coming off a bad offensive performance. You expect them to rebound and should have a nice game. They should be able to run the ball. Florida's run defense not great, so definitely got to get the run game going. But if they can get the run game going, it might be similar to an Arkansas game where they just struggle to put points on the board. But yeah, I expect Tennessee to bounce back. I first saw this number and was like, wow, that's really high for a Tennessee-Florida matchup. But you're right. What Florida are we getting? Are we getting the Florida early on in the year that gets blown out every week? Or are we getting the Florida that look good against UCF? But is UCF done for the year? Don't know. So this one I actually don't really have a play. Would maybe lean Florida and maybe lean the over in this game, but honestly don't really love those plays.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a tough game. I agree. I don't really I don't want to pick Tennessee after seeing what they did this past week, and I can't pick Florida. I mean, they've just haven't looked good. I think I picked them against A&M a couple of weeks ago, and they just was devastating. It was horrible to watch. My money just get sucked down the drain in that one. So tough game. Will be fun to watch. Maybe we'll have a play. Tune in Saturday morning to see if we do have a play on this one. But as of the moment, I think I'll pass as well for now. Also, prime time, probably the biggest game of the week. Number 2 versus number 3, Ohio State at Oregon. First time Oregon is coming to the Big Ten to play Ohio State. Oregon's home. They're actually getting 3. Ohio State is slight favorite. Ohio State, obviously real good. The college football national championship is the goal for them, as is Oregon this season. First real test for Ohio State. Ohio State's defense has looked phenomenal, as you said earlier in the show. Laying 3 against Oregon. My gut right now, I lean Ohio State. I think they're going to win this game, but what do you think? And total is 53.5. This one also prime time on Saturday.
Yeah, this one I do have a play, and a pretty big play in this one. I love Ohio State here. I actually haven't played it in real life. I'm waiting for this number to come down. I think it's going to keep coming down, maybe get a cheap money line on Ohio State. But I just love this matchup because of the Boise State game at Oregon. If you rewatch that from week 2, Genty, who's obviously going to be a Heisman contender, ran all over Oregon. I don't think Oregon's tough. I think Ohio State's going to be able to push them around a little bit offensively. Miguel's going to get the run game fired up. And if that's not working, they have some pretty good wide receivers on the outside with Mbuka and the freshman. I can't remember his name right now. But so I don't think Will Howard's going to have to do too much in this game. I don't think they're going to ask him to do too much. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. If they need to, go on the outside a little bit, hit some deep plays. So I think Ohio State will be good offensively in this game. And then, like you said, I think their defense looked really good. I know it was Iowa, but their D-line looked really good in that game and pushing them around. And what's Oregon's struggle offensively? It's their O-line. Oregon was not protecting, gave up a lot of sacks against Idaho and Boise State, who Boise State does not have a good defense either. So that was a 3-point game by the end of it with some lucky scores for Oregon. Now I only have to lay 2.5, 3 with a way better team in Ohio State. So I just like that data point from Boise State. But not impressed with Oregon. Love them going into the year. Completely flipped my opinion on them. But I think Ohio State, not a hot take, but I think they're the best team in the country. I think they'll show it here. I think they're better than Texas at the moment. So give me Ohio State laying the short number if you could find a money line in a good price range. But love Ohio State in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I lean Ohio State. I don't think I'm in love with them as much as you are right now. I just don't know if I mean, they look incredible. I'm not sure they've played a good team yet, that like Oregon. So that's just 1 point on them. But I do agree. I think, if they're not 1, they're 2 right now. I mean, there's no debating. I don't think Ohio State and Texas are the best teams. I like them a lot. I don't think Oregon is good either necessarily. I think maybe that they're kind of a weird team we're still figuring out. So it's kind of this weird spot where I'm just still not sure who really the top 5 is. How much of these rankings are still relied on where teams were preseason. We saw Oregon not lose, but struggle at times, and how good are these these teams. So we'll see. I think now as we're in October, you're now playing more conference. We kind of know how the national landscape is playing out. So, probably by next week and, week after, we're obviously going to have a great idea of who these teams are. For this reason, I'm leaning Ohio State just because I do think they're better than Oregon. I think, 3 points, if it goes down to 2.5, I think I'll definitely hammer that at 1 point. And yeah, if it goes down to a pick 'em, I think I'll take Ohio State. I think they're going to win this game despite that it's on the road. But interesting game. I mean, this would be, if Oregon wins, I'm not going to be stunned, I guess, to say that, just because I'm not sure Ohio State has played, the level of team that Oregon is. But we'll see. And this one should be a really a good one, at least to watch. And glad it's at prime time and not in the Fox big noon slot. Finally.
True. And yeah, just one last point on that. It is hard to make a call sometimes in college teams that don't play anybody. I don't think Ohio State or Oregon, like you said, have played really great teams yet. So it is kind of hard. But then now after this week, you're going to get a huge answers, like you said. So I'm almost kind of grabbing Ohio State, hopefully, before they pop and look really good. So you get them. Because maybe if they play 3 or 4 weeks down the line here, it's probably not going to be a 3-point spread. So just it is definitely a little gamble, but that's why we do it here. But yeah, it should be a fascinating game. This was definitely one everybody was looking forward to before the year. So huge Big Ten matchup.
To the SEC battle of two playoff hopefuls. Number 9, Ole Miss going to LSU, arguably the hardest place or one of the hardest places to play in the country, no doubt. Prime time under the lights. Feels kind of like an elimination game for these teams also. And it was weird, the way this expanded playoff has worked. I was worried, our game is going to really matter as much. You could kind of afford to lose, but I don't know. It feels just as exciting as it normally would, I think, for me. I mean, these are now teams where you already have a loss. You need to win this game. You don't want to go to 2 losses, especially the way things are, shaking out. So huge game, kind of feels that way. Not sure it really is. Maybe, the loser of this could still rebound. Probably more Ole Miss than LSU at this point, but should be a good game. Another really pick 'em game, only 3-point spread. Ole Miss also trying to bounce back after their upset to Kentucky 2 weeks ago. They go to LSU. What do you think in this one?
Yeah, kind of like the favorite road team in this one as well. Probably my second favorite play of the Saturday card. Looking at it, I like Ole Miss here. I think they showed enough in that South Carolina game. I watched that last week. I think not a lot of people are talking about the Ole Miss defense now. That would be a very good LSU offense they're going up against. That's the strength of LSU's team. But Ole Miss is very good to the under this year. That is also something I might be playing, like half of what I'm going to bet on Ole Miss. Maybe take the under at 63.5, just a number play. Should be a lot of points scored, but I think that total's too high. But yeah, I think Jackson Dart looked a little bit better. They look better offensively against South Carolina. I think Kentucky's actually pretty good. So I think that loss will look better as the year goes on for Georgia, who struggled with them, and now Ole Miss, who lost them outright. But I think you're just getting a different animal with LSU. Defensively, you can run the ball on them, you can pass. Still don't believe in the LSU defense, still banging that drum before we talked about them early in the year. I think their offense is solid, but I think Ole Miss could slow them down a little bit. So, again, a game I grabbed early on when it was still a cheap money line. Now it's out to 3.5. I don't know if I'd play 3.5, maybe wait till it gets down to 3 or 2.5 like we talked about. But, yeah, give me Ole Miss in a big spot here, big primetime game to get a nice win here on the road.
Yeah. Are you picking for Ole Miss here, or are you picking against Brian Kelly because you don't think he's going to get the job done here for them?
That's a good question. Both. I love fading Brian Kelly in these big games, having watched him for 12, 13 years in Notre Dame. And a little tricky putting my faith in Lane Kiffin, but as long as he's not doing TikToks or any social media things with his daughters, I think he'll be lasered in on this game and should have a good game plan.
Yeah, I wish you didn't remind me of that because now I may have to pick LSU here in this game. Terrible video. If anybody's listening here, please do not look up Lane Kiffin TikTok videos. It was awful. That's why they lost to Kentucky. I'm convinced of that. Anyway,
he learned his lesson, hopefully.
Yeah. Another team that is a 3-point favorite going on the road. A little skeptical now how this is all shaping out. Usually I don't like picking these road teams. Number 11, Iowa State, who's a slight favorite going to West Virginia under the lights, 8 o'clock. Should be exciting for them. West Virginia, obviously the early loss to Penn State didn't look good there, dominated in that one. Then you lose to Pittsburgh, who I didn't think was very good. I was rooting for West Virginia. I had a lot of money riding on West Virginia in that game. I thought they were better. I was done with them. I thought they were bad. I wasn't going to pick them the rest of the year. Anyway, getting 3 points with Iowa State coming to town, who's now one of the favorites to win the Big 12, the way things are shaking out. And here we are, number 11. Can't believe they're that high in the rankings. Iowa State having to take a trip to the mountains of West Virginia.
Yeah, this game, a great night slate here. A lot of primetime games going on here, so going to be a fun night slate. in Morgantown under the lights, and I think they're debuting some new uniforms, I heard, for West Virginia here, so maybe just a little factor. Doesn't play a lot to the point spread, but might be a little more motivation for the guys there. But yeah, I think West Virginia, like you said, bouncing back. They played good against Oklahoma State. They looked bad early in the year, but they're starting to play a little better. I don't trust their secondary, but their offense looked really good. They ran the ball. Oklahoma State, maybe another team like we talked about, that's kind of a corpse and kind of quitting on their season. So West Virginia looked really good in that one despite it. But yeah, Iowa State, kind of the surprise Big 12 team this year. Now maybe the Big 12 favorite, so they kind of need all these games here on out if they want to make some real noise. Iowa State has a really good offense as well. Their defense hasn't really played an offense that has a great pulse yet, so should be a fascinating one. I think both offenses should succeed here. Might have a little play early on here in this game later on the podcast, but this should be another fun, exciting matchup that maybe wasn't as hyped up going into the year, but this will be a fun one, I think a close one to the end. So yeah, if you could, I kind of like the home underdog as well in this one. If you're getting 3.5, so should be a fun matchup there in West Virginia.
Yeah, great night slate, as you said, too. I mean, great visuals, too. Oregon at night, LSU under the lights there. West Virginia, I'm sure they'll be packed to the rim. And also Colorado, at Colorado, Kansas State going there. Number 18, Kansas State. Feels like a must-win again for them as they struggled, potentially the Big 12 front runner at times this season. Now it's kind of went to Iowa State. Kansas State kind of got a big win a week ago against Oklahoma State. So here they are now going to Colorado as a slight favorite, 4 points, 10:15 kickoff p.m. late game. Total setting at 56.5. And Colorado 4-1 right now, 2-0 in the Big 12. They are still in the running, still trying to fully figure out what type of game. Or what type of team that they are at this point, but huge opportunity in prime time for them to get a huge win, getting 4 points against Kansas State.
Yeah, is Colorado legit? This will be the ultimate test. They had a nice passing grade against UCF, but then we saw UCF look last week, so I don't know how great that win looks now. But Colorado, yeah, are they legit? Are they not? This will be a big test. This is a team that they don't match up well against, but we said that about UCF, and they matched up pretty good. It's my hardest thing is trying to think of this team differently than last year because I think they're better. They are definitely better, but it's hard to get that image out of my head. The offense is a lot better. The receivers are some of the best in the country. Consider Sanders, for all the noise, he is a really good quarterback. He's really good if they keep him clean and upright, still navigating that in the muddy pockets sometimes. But their defense is a big question. Are we getting the defense that showed up against UCF, or are we getting the defense that was a little leaky in some of the early games? Someone else made a great point, too. That Baylor game, if that goes a different way, is the season completely different for Colorado. They looked terrible in that game, won on a Hail Mary. Kind of use that momentum then to keep rolling forward here with some of these wins. So just something to think about. I always like to think, if one play is different, does that kind of change how the season goes and stuff? So I kind of like Kansas State. I know we fade Colorado a lot in this podcast. So we're not biggest fans of them. But I just think this line is getting way too low. I think this should be a touch higher. I think Kansas State shows well offensively. I do worry about their defense and giving up big pass plays to Colorado's offense. So maybe lean to an over as well, kind of tailor it with the Kansas State pick. But should be a fascinating one. If Colorado looks good in this one, I think we seriously got to take them serious for a top 25 consideration. Maybe not a playoff or a national title, but definitely as a very good college football team. But I think Kansas State gets it done here and covers the short number of 4. Hopefully it goes down a little bit more. But give me Kansas State in the over in this game.
Yeah, I would lean Kansas State. I think also I just think they're better than Colorado. Weird, it is in Colorado. We know it's a good. It'll be packed there. It'll be loud. It'll be a tough place environment for Kansas State. But yeah, Big 12 is wide open, and Colorado, if they do get the upset win here, it's not impossible to win. Probably not the rest of your games, but even if you drop one, if Colorado wins this, 10-2 is on the table for them. I mean, at Arizona, probably you could lose that for sure, but then you play, there's a lot of winnable games. Cincinnati, Texas Tech, Kansas hasn't looked all that good. The beginning of the season, it kind of looked a little bit tougher, I think. I thought Oklahoma State would be better. I thought Kansas would be a little better. I thought Utah was, the playoff caliber. They don't look all that great right now. So it's kind of a weird direction it's going in. But all that being said, I don't think Colorado's going to win. I do lean Kansas State, but we'll see. Definitely wide open conference was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, and just one last point on Kansas State, their quarterback, Avery Johnson, really good runner. I think this might be the best running quarterback Colorado's faced, and they did struggle a little bit with North Dakota State's run attack, but ended up winning that game. But he is not a great passer, so if Kansas State gets up early, they should be able to control the game. If they get down, could get a little dicey, and we could really see the true colors of Avery Johnson. Or maybe he is a good passer. We'll see. But again, be another fascinating matchup, 10-15 on the West Coast there, so should be fun. Or Mountain Time, sorry.
Yeah, Mountain Time. That one is late for sure. Standalone. No, it's not a standalone. Can't forget about Hawaii hosting Boise State at 11 p.m. Don't have time for that one, but
we might have a pick on a case. Hold on.
I was going to say, but we may give it a little shout out. Well, that being said, that is the recap of the preview, I guess, of Week 7. We'll get into our picks right now, and Mr. Paisley, I'll kick it right to you on your plays of the week.
Yeah, I'll kind of keep the first one short. I'll go Ole Miss -3. Talked about it already. I think they should have a lot of success on offense against this LSU defense, and then also throw Ohio State -3 as a little 2-pack play of our big games there on the road favorites. So I think both these teams should find success offensively, slow down the team on defense. So give me Ohio State and Ole Miss short favorites in this one.
Yeah, I would second that. I would lean Ole Miss and Ohio State. More so, I think, Ohio State, but I like them both, Ole Miss and Ohio State, slight favorites there on the road. I'm going to go to Kentucky and give them a pick. I think they're going to cover. They have the mighty Vanderbilt coming to town after knocking off number 1 Alabama. I don't know. I'm picking this for a few reasons, and usually when I do this, it's wrong. So that being said, I like Kentucky here. I think Vandy's going to be in a little bit of a hangover spot, but I'm not even really sure Vanderbilt gets hungover because they've never been in this situation before. So I have nothing to look back on and say that they're going to lay an egg this week because they never knock off good teams. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Vanderbilt, this will, maybe they'll look like a completely new team on Saturday. But I'm picking this more so not just because of the hangover, because I don't really fully believe that of Vanderbilt this year. I do think they're good, by the way. I think they're a really good team, but I think Kentucky's really good too. And I think they got the big win over Ole Miss. They've been a weird team to watch. They've looked really good at times. They're laying 13.5 in this game. I think they're going to win it by 2 touchdowns at home. I don't know. Vandy, I think, is good, but between a mix of, I think Kentucky's a little bit better than some people are giving them credit for, and that maybe Vanderbilt's in a tough spot after getting a win like that and then going on the road, still got to travel to Kentucky. I'm going to pick Kentucky, lay the points. I think they cover. I think they win by multiple touchdowns. Yeah,
I second that. I actually did bet that myself for a smaller amount, but all the details you said, completely agree with that. I like Kentucky in this spot. Their defense is legit, like we talked about. I like Kentucky's defense here. Vanderbilt might have a little tougher time scoring this week against Kentucky. For my second pick, we're going to go to the MAC. I'm going to bring the MAC back into it. Give me Central Michigan +3.5 at home against the Ohio Bobcats. I think this game's pretty even, honestly. So I was a little confused that Central Michigan, the home team, getting 3 in the hook here. So I just think Ohio's not as good as we think. Really didn't bring back a lot of players. I think Central Michigan hung tough against Illinois. We had them in that week 3, I think it was, or week 2. So yeah. I think Central Michigan has some talent. They just got to put it together. So just a little confused by this one. I think the wrong team's favorite. So give me a little action here. Central Michigan +3.5.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Also, Ohio did get steamrolled by Kentucky, 41-6 early in the season. So add another big win for Kentucky there. But yeah, good pick there. Central Michigan +3.5. We'll see if that hits. My second pick, I'm going to go to the Big Ten, going Purdue, which didn't think I would say this year. They're terrible. They're not very good. They're getting blown out, it seems, every week. They just got blown out again last week to Wisconsin. All that being said, I'm not sure Illinois could score enough points to cover this game. I think Illinois is a lot better, and they're at home. But, Illinois might win this game 21-0 or maybe 28-10 or 13 or 35-14, whatever it is. I think Illinois as good, but I think Purdue is at least decent enough to keep this lower scoring. I should rephrase that. I don't know if Purdue's decent enough to do it. I think Illinois is just not as explosive enough offensively to cover this. That's probably where I'm at on this one. But yeah, I think Purdue could cover 22. At some point, they have to stop getting blown out. So we'll see. I think it's this week. They might lose by 21, but 22 is just too many points. Too many points for Purdue.
I like it. Just a numbers play. Like, I was shocked to see Illinois favored by this much. I agree. I don't think they should be favored by this much. Do I love the Purdue and their program, what they're doing? No, but it was 18-19 earlier in the day before we recorded here, now to 22. So this line is getting steamed. So this might keep going up if you want to keep waiting on it. But I don't mind the Purdue pick. Got to have some guts to be in this business case. So I love it there. Third pick for me, we're going to go back to the Iowa State-West Virginia game. We're going to go over 53. I think just this number is a little too low. You think of this team in the past, Iowa State really doesn't have a great offense, good defenses. West Virginia kind of the same. I think it's kind of flipped. I think they have really good offenses this year. The defenses kind of struggle. Iowa State has some really good receivers that no one's talking about. Their quarterback I really like. A sophomore, played all the last year as a freshman, so has some experience here. I think Eric Green got a little banged up last week, but should be back. Looked a lot better than he did early on in the year. The run game is really good, I think, for West Virginia, which Iowa State struggles to stop. So I think it's going to be a little back and forth game, a little ping pong match here. So give me over 53 in the West Virginia-Iowa State game.
Yeah, I like it for all those points you made. This feels like a higher scoring game, too, between these two teams. Just lack of defense I could see on Saturday between these two. So we'll see. I'd probably lean with you there on the over 53. I'm also going to pick an over for my just final pick here this Thursday. I'm going to go over in the Penn State USC game. I feel an offensive game for Penn State. I think they kind of need it. It feels like they've been, going on one or two cylinders. I think they're going to figure it out on offense. I also think USC has the chance to score a little bit more. I know Penn State's defense has been good, but I don't know. I just think that the way Illinois was able to move the ball down one drive in that game, I also think that because UCLA has been able to, kind of was able to move the ball at times. It doesn't show on the stat sheet, but I don't know. Just eye test, I feel like there's some vulnerabilities. Penn State also lost a couple guys on defense, and I'm throwing that out there. I don't think that's going to be the reason, but I think there's just a chance. It's not a ton of points, just 50.5. I think we could get there with just enough offense by Penn State and maybe one or two big plays by USC. I think it easily hit this 50 number.
Yeah, I like what you said there with UCLA. They got a lot of yards in that game. They're moving the ball, just couldn't really cash in or had some bad turnovers in that Penn State game. So, yeah, I'm expecting a bounce back from USC. So don't hate that one either, Case, on the over. And last pick here, I'm going to finish off with another over, as promised in the Hawaii game. Late at night here at midnight, give me a Boise State versus Hawaii over 61. Boise State's putting up points. I mean, their defense is not great, which helps the over here, but they are putting up points. They are torching teams in the first half here. They're killing Utah State early on here. Genty's a legit contender. I don't think anybody in the Mountain West could slow him down. I don't know if anybody in the country could slow him down, but definitely not the Mountain West. So I think he could go for 200 here. So I think this is going to be a really high-scoring game for Boise State. And then, like we said, we just need Hawaii to get a couple touchdowns, which I think they're definitely capable of there on the island at home there in Hawaii. So as a last play here, give me the over 61. I just think it's a little short. I think it's a little short. Should be like the mid-60s, high 60s. So give me Boise State and Hawaii to put up a bunch of points there in the last game of the day on Saturday.
We've been able to incorporate Hawaii, I think, in 6 of 8 of these episodes so far of PME betting. So big fans of the the Rainbow Warriors, Hawaii Rainbow Warriors.
More than a lot of podcasts out there, probably. So a lot more.
Big fans of them on the show. I was there. I'll throw that out there once. I was in the state of Hawaii once, so big fan of them, what they're doing there. So Hawaii over 61. You always have to bet the over in Hawaii games. I'm glad you actually have real reasons to do it. Usually I just do it because it's fun to watch. I want to see points in these games. But I like it. All right. Paisley Burger Parlay of the Week. If you're just joining us for the first time, or if you're coming from Uncle Lou's channel, really appreciate all the support. Keep retweeting our content, engage with us, trying to grow the page as much as we could, and also just give some decent college football takes and points that maybe you didn't think of, or just want another source to watch and talk college football. So that being said, we do this parlay every week. We just give out 2 underdogs. It's usually plus 3, 4, 500 to win. We already hit one this season, this early part of the season, where we already hit one big one a couple of weeks ago. So we're still plus 2 units on the season. All that talking, Mr. Paisley, who is your pick that you're taking to win outright?
Yeah, I'm going to stay on the West Coast, a team we mentioned a little bit here, didn't break down, but give me the UCLA Bruins. I think they got a nice little bounce back game here against Minnesota, who we talked about a lot. That looked really good. We gave them a lot of praise from last week. Kind of like you said about Vanderbilt, sometimes when you win those games and you normally don't, and you're a big underdog, how do you handle success and how do you handle that? Now they have to travel out to California after finishing late Saturday night there. UCLA covered the last couple games against some really good opponents in Oregon and Penn State. So got to give them some credit. They haven't looked great all year. I think this could be a nice spot for them coming back home, get the offense going a little bit, punch in a couple times. Their defense actually looked pretty good. It's just more the offense that struggles here. So I think it's a good matchup against Minnesota's offense that isn't that explosive, isn't that great. So I think they can hold them to a low number. And then hopefully just a couple conversions in the red zone, score some touchdowns, and hopefully get this game an outright victory. I do like them at the spread, too. I think it's 5.5 right now, but give me the UCLA win outright, getting there for a second win of the year, maybe first one out. I don't know if they have a win. Plus 164 over at DraftKings.
Yeah, UCLA 1-4. They don't have a conference win, but they feel better than their record. It's weird just watching. Like, they played a decent game against LSU. They've gotten some yards against Penn State, and now Minnesota, obviously the big win. Now they need to travel out west. Good points sitting at plus 164. Don't hate that. But those listening may hate this pick. I'm going West Virginia to win outright over Iowa State. If you have listened before, I know I've said I was off the West Virginia bus. They let me down big time against Pitt. But this is all different. That was yesterday. Today is today. West Virginia has been playing better. I'm all about, seeing how teams play and making decisions based off that. They're at home. The Big 12 has kind of been wide open so far. We've seen weird things happen. We've seen a lot of losses. Can Iowa State really continue that? Can they go now to West Virginia, pick up a big win? I don't know. I mean, maybe they're a 3-point favorite, but I'm picking West Virginia. I think they're going to get the win. I think they're building something there. Neil Brown, great coach. I don't know if I fully believe that, but I'm picking West Virginia. Give me them. I think they're going to knock off Iowa State, maybe just by a point. I don't know, but they're going to find a way to win this game. And we're going to be sitting here a week from now, and we're going to be talking all about how is West Virginia all of a sudden back in the Big 12 race.
Everyone loves a redemption arc story. This could be a great redemption movie piece for Casey here in the West Virginia Mountaineers after he bashed them after week 2. Hopefully I like them too, Case. I stand for this one as well. So really like this parlay going into this week, as I liked all of them. But this should be a fun one. A lot of games late at night here with the parlay. So we're going to have to wait a little bit all day, but hopefully this one cashes. But let's Mountaineers specifically win this one for Casey Berger. Get back in his good graces for sure. But total odds plus 480, close to 500 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Not sponsored, but a good sportsbook to use. But yeah, UCLA, West Virginia for the parlay plus 480.
I like it. Plus 480, $100 will get me 480. That's going to be fantastic. Can't wait to cash that one in this weekend. All right. Well, that's all we have this week. Great slate. Probably the best so far this season, just based off of the teams at home and the spreads and all the ranked matchups. Ohio State, Oregon. I mean, just the list goes on and on. And we will be back a week from today, next Thursday, breaking down everything that just happened here in week 7 and then going into week 8. We'll see how we do, but yeah, looking forward to it. Another college football week is upon us.